Hey, so in this lesson, we're looking at 11 things that you should not do or stop doing in order to improve your English. So the purpose of today's lesson is just to make you aware of some bad habits that you can either break or avoid altogether so that you can make the progress you want to make with your English. So don't feel bad if you've been doing any of the things we talk about today. This is again to help you understand why these habits are not helpful and of course what you should do instead. So let's get started. First of all, stop worrying or stressing or obsessing about your current English level. This is especially true if you are someone who is in an English class or you have been taking classes for quite some time. It's natural to want to move up to the next level. So if you are currently B1, it's natural to want to move up to B2. But I want to remind you, as adult English learners, there is not really a timeline for how fast you need to be moving up to the next level. Now, these levels exist to help you measure your progress, to help you and teachers make sure that you are using the right material and the right content and the right methods that you need to improve, okay? That's what the levels are there for. So the levels are there actually to help you, not to stress you out. It is natural sometimes to compare yourself, your progress, your level to other people in your class or other people you know or other people around you. That's natural, but it's not something that's helpful. And honestly, in reality, it really does not matter how long it takes you to get from A1 to B1 or B1 to B2. It absolutely does not matter, okay? So if you're someone who kind of is really focused on the level of the class that you're in, just don't stress about it. Do your best. You will make progress in your own time. Next, don't always stick to the same topics when you're learning and practicing English. So when we are learning something new, we sometimes stick to what we like and we stick to what we know, but this means that we just stay inside of our comfort zone. And we have a lot of sayings and quotes about our comfort zone in English, but one of my favorites is, there is no learning inside a comfort zone and there's no comfort inside a learning zone. So this means that when we stick to what we know and what we like, even though we feel comfortable, we're not necessarily learning. So this means you probably have topics that you like reading about or talking about or discussing in English, but if you always talk about and read about and write about and listen to these same topics, you will become an expert on those topics, but not on anything else in English, all right? So really challenge yourself to step outside of your comfort zone, talk about new topics with new people, read about new things, listen to new things. You will expand your vocabulary. You will become more confident. When you are placed in an uncomfortable situation, you will be able to talk about it and to handle that situation in English, all right? So step outside your comfort zone and don't always discuss the same topics. Next, don't forget about communication. Sometimes we are so focused on choosing the right vocabulary and using the right grammatical structure or the right tense. We're very focused on the technical aspects of the language that we kind of just forget all about communication, right? But the whole point of learning any language, including English, is to communicate something with someone. So even if you make some mistakes, if you make some grammar mistakes or you forget a word or you use the wrong word or your pronunciation isn't perfect, it's very important that you communicate your message clearly. And you can communicate your message clearly even if you have some mistakes, all right? So don't overlook the importance of communicating because you're focusing too much on making mistakes or avoiding mistakes, all right? So don't stress too much about mistakes. Of course, there are some times when mistakes matter more than other times, but generally speaking, if you're having social conversations or casual conversations with people, it's really not the end of the world if you make a mistake. So focus more on your communication and making sure that your message is clear. Next, Stop being inconsistent with your English. Stop being inconsistent with your English. You cannot depend on motivation only in order to improve your English. Motivation comes and goes. Sometimes we're motivated and sometimes we're not, right? Whenever we decide to start something new, we feel excited. So if you have decided recently, okay, I want to improve my English, I want to work on my English, of course you're going to feel excited. But over time, this feeling of excitement and motivation fades away. And motivation is just a feeling, and sometimes feelings fade away. So instead, it's very important for you to develop habits and routines that you can stick to. Habits and routines that are manageable for you, okay? So in the beginning, you might be super motivated and say, I'm gonna practice English every day for 2 hours, but that might not be realistic for you. It might not be manageable, and it becomes too hard and too stressful, and you can't do it, and you lose your motivation and you become inconsistent. So instead, the key here is to really develop habits and routines that you can stick to. And that's gonna look different for everybody. So maybe you can work on your English for 30 minutes a day. That's okay. Maybe you can work on your English 3 times a week for 1 hour. That's okay. Whatever is manageable and whatever you can stick to. And even when you're tired, even when you're stressed, even when you're not motivated, you need to keep showing up and you need to keep doing it. Next, stop using the same approach when you don't see progress, all right? Stop using the same approach when you do not see any progress with your English. So many adult English learners just study and learn the same way that they always have, right? When we're in school, our teachers tell us what to do, they give us assignments, they give us tests, we have textbooks, we study, we memorize stuff, and a lot of us, when we grow up and we become adults, we don't know about another way of learning or studying, so we just keep doing the same thing, even if it doesn't work, okay? So it's important to recognize when something is not working for you, when you are not seeing results, when you are not seeing progress, when you're feeling frustrated, you need to stop, take a minute, and make a change. So, for example, if you have been studying English with textbooks and that has not been working for you, you need to make a change. If you have been studying English on your own and you're not really improving, you need to make a change, all right? So the key here is to learn to recognize what's working and what's not. Learn to recognize when you're making progress and when you're not. And if you're not, try something different. Identify the methods that are working for you and keep those, and identify the methods that are not working for you and get rid of those. Next, don't ignore culture. If you are learning a language, you cannot ignore the culture that is connected to that language. So I've said it before and I will say it again, that language and culture go hand in hand. They are connected, they go together. So you cannot learn a language and totally ignore the culture attached to that language. Now, I'm not saying that you need to change your culture or get rid of your culture. Absolutely not. You just need to understand the culture of English speakers in terms of communication, okay? I'm gonna say that again. You do not need to get rid of your culture or change your culture or forget about your culture. Absolutely not. You just have to be aware of the culture of English speakers and the people you are communicating with. And this is important because certain things in English can sound rude. Certain things in English can be offensive. Certain things in English can sound unprofessional. And this is very important for you if you're trying to communicate effectively in English. So you need to learn to be aware of what sounds rude, what sounds diplomatic, what sounds offensive, and so on. I do have a full lesson on things that sound rude in English that will help you to kind of become aware a little bit more of the culture. I will link that lesson down below in the description for you. Next, stop translating everything. If you're someone who relies on or depends on Google Translate for everything, you need to stop it. So of course, translating is a great tool. It's super helpful, very convenient, but there's a time and a place to translate things. So if you don't understand one single word like a noun, it's okay to translate it, but I always recommend looking up the word in English first, because this just gives you another opportunity to use your English, okay? You can also look for synonyms of this word. Another issue with translating too much is that if you're translating idioms and expressions, many of these do not translate, or the translation doesn't make sense, okay? So it actually causes more confusion and you get frustrated and you think you don't understand anything. So instead, try to understand words in context, try to understand the general meaning, and if you really need to translate a word here and there, of course, that is okay. Next, stop overcomplicating English. So, as your English level improves, as your English level gets higher, sometimes you want to use more complicated words and more complicated grammatical structures. However, complicated does not always equal better, and it does not always equal a higher level, especially in professional situations. I have had a lot of business English students who want to use very complex vocabulary and grammar. However, what's very important, especially when it comes to business, is making sure that you are clear, all right? So if you're using complicated phrases that people don't actually use, it can come across as unnatural. Generally speaking, in English, a professional tone is quite neutral, and your message should be clear and simple and straightforward. People don't like being confused. People don't like wasting their time having to look up words and phrases that they don't understand, or having to ask you what you mean because you made your message too complicated. So keep that in mind, that complicated doesn't always equal better, okay? Now, if you are trying to improve your business English, I do have an amazing business English course. It is called Essential English for Business. I will link the course down below for you if you would like to check it out. The next thing that might be hurting your progress in English is not practicing what you have learned. So if you are someone who loves learning new words, new phrases, new concepts in English, that's awesome. Just make sure that you leave time to review and practice the things that you have learned. This is actually part of the learning process or the learning cycle. It's very important. So once you learn information one time, it's not enough to remember it. So let's say that you have been saving English lessons online, or posts on Instagram, or blogs that you found helpful. Make sure you leave yourself time to go back to those things and review them, okay? If you have been making notes, writing down new concepts, new words, and things that you've learned, make sure you go back and review them. The next thing is not having fun. If English has become an obligation for you and it's boring and it's not fun, something is wrong and you need to make a change. I want to remind you that as an adult English learner, it is your choice to learn English. You don't have to learn English. Nobody is actually forcing you. So if you learn English or if you don't, that's really up to you. So since this is something that you're choosing to do, you should make it enjoyable. There are lots of different things you can try, right? So try using music, try reading blogs, listening to podcasts, try using movies, television. Make sure you're having English conversations about topics that are interesting and fun for you to talk about. Talk to people that you actually like talking to. So if you have been practicing English with people who you find boring or people you don't really like, then find other people to practice with, okay? It is very important to have fun with the learning process. Learning English should not be and does not have to be an obligation or something boring or something stressful. It shouldn't be a waste of your time. It is a choice, so make sure that you make it fun. And finally, stop being negative and stop comparing yourself to other people. I've heard so many English learners speaking negatively about themselves and their English and comparing their level to their classmates, to their colleagues, to their family, to their friends, and this is absolutely not helpful. So if you find yourself comparing your English to a classmate or a colleague or a friend, just pause, take a moment, and remember that everyone started somewhere. Everyone feels insecure sometimes. Everyone lacks confidence sometimes. So let's say that you have a colleague who is a non-native English speaker, but their English level is very good. They communicate very clearly. They're very confident. And you look at them and you're like, why don't I feel this way? Why am I struggling so much? I'm a professional and my ideas are good, okay? Remember that this person who is a non-native speaker also started somewhere. They were once a beginner. They were once in your position, okay? Sometimes when we compare ourselves to other people, we only see where they are now, but we don't get to see their journey for how they actually got to that point. So keep that in mind if you ever feel like you are comparing yourself to others. I know that it's hard not to do that, and sometimes it just happens, but if it does happen, stop and just remind yourself that, you know what, they were in my position once as well. They had to work hard to get to where they're at. And you too will reach that point. You will reach a point with your English where you feel confident. But if you think very negatively about yourself and you speak very negatively about yourself in your English, that is not helping at all. So if this is something that you struggle with, I do have a full lesson on how to get into the right mindset for learning English, how to shift or change your mindset. It's an awesome lesson, and I will link that one down below for you as well. So those are the 11 things you shouldn't do or you should stop doing in order to improve your English. Now make sure you check out the links down below, and don't forget to grab your free ebook, English Conversations Made Simple. Thank you so much for watching and for learning with me. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments for me. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you very soon in the next lesson.